I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reverend McDowell, would you mind saying a word of prayer before we begin? Thank you.
Your goodness and your mercy, the ability to come to this place. We simply say thank you for all of the wondrous blessings you've bestowed upon each of us, and particularly upon this city of ours. In your own way, Lord, we ask that you might touch and energize us with your presence. Touch us in such a way that we might be sensitive to conversations that we might have today, and that those of us who sit in this traditional yet historical building might sense that sensitivity. Create within each of us a willingness to work and a willingness to do what is necessary for this, our beloved city. We ask it and claim it in your name. Amen.
We got any deferrals? Just the two? Deferrals. Two deferrals. 17. Okay. Move for the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the agenda with deferral of items 17 and 18.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussions, questions, comments? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan? Yes. Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mayor Rickaman, at this time, we would ask for any public input on the agenda items as outlined and adopt with the adopted changes.
Mayor, we don't have anyone signed in at this time for items on the regular agenda. Most of the individuals will speak during the zoning public hearing or at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, there's a large group here from Cottontown that are here to speak on the items that were deferred, and I would request that they be allowed to have a short input now. Denise, would you like to represent your community?
Good afternoon, Mayor Rickaman and City Council. I am Denise Wellman, the president of Cottontown.
Pull the mic.
Oh, sorry.
Pull the mic. Yeah.
You asked for people to be here, Mayor Rickaman, just a few moments ago. I am
Preferably on our budget, but
You said zoning, though, so that's why I picked up on it. I am here with my neighbors from Cottontown. And we were prepared to speak on this zoning amendment today. Not all of us. We were not going to take all of your time, okay? But we wanted you to hear our reservations about this agenda item that is before you. I really thank Councilwoman Herbert for asking questions, demanding some answers. We have been working on trying to get answers about this project since October and have not been successful getting Ghost Rider to provide information to us. We even invited them to the Cottontown board meeting in November. The developer did not show. They claim that they have done a traffic study. They said they had early drawings of the project. I have asked for those on 3 occasions. No documents have been received. We are all in with helping you develop every corner of Main Street. Like the 1600 block of Main Street has been instrumental to the Main Street district, Cottontown wants to be a part of that north of Elmwood. This project is not going to help us get there. So we just wanted you to know we were here. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you, to let you know our tremendous reservations about what we've heard about this project, and look forward to any opportunity you want to hear what we've heard about this project.
Thank you, for being here today, and thank all of you for showing up together. Any other questions or information that y'all were looking for that you would share with us as well? At this point, I don't know when the date is going to be, but we all have questions as well. And so I think it'd be great if we could try to get everything answered for everybody so that we're all hearing the same thing.
Shall we send those to Councilwoman Herbert?
That'd be
You?
fine, and she'll
Is that-
share it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we will do that. Thank you very much.
No, thank y'all for being here. Appreciate your participation. Now, you do realize that's your way of leaving now. You don't have to stay anymore.
Moving forward with the approval of minutes, council is asked to approve the December 6th and 20th, 2022 council meeting minutes, January 4th,
So
2023
moved.
special call meeting minutes.
Second.
And that would also include January 10th and January 17th of 2023 minutes. So we have a motion and a second. Any comments, corrections? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Ms. Herbert? Aye. Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, items 2 through 9 include your consent agenda. I would make note that 2 of our items, I'm always pleased to see a cost savings. There were 2 significant Columbia water projects, so that was good, showing the market is allowing for some of our bids to come in much better. And there's an item that's significant for some park improvements in Columbia.
Is there a motion?
Move approval of the consent agenda.
That's items 2 through 9.
Second.
There's a second. Any questions, discussions, concerns? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Ms. Herbert? Aye. Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye. Ms. Hampton, it's a pleasure to see you this afternoon.
We will begin
Likewise.
I
the,
see you have a fun-filled afternoon for us today.
It is. Y'all made it a lot shorter just now, so.
so these are first reading items, the public hearing on zoning and planning matters. Ms. Krista Hampton, Director of Planning and Development Services.
Good evening. Our first item on your agenda, your zoning public hearing agenda this evening, is an annexation, a future land use map amendment and zoning map amendment for 7106 Broad River Road. It's a request to annex the property, assign a land use classification of community activity corridor, and a zoning of office and institutional district.
Is there anybody here to speak for or against this project? Ms. Herbert, this is your district.
I'm sorry, I was trying to get my little thingy to work. But,
I don't think our screens are mimicking the, somebody here from IT?
but I will make a motion for approval.
Second.
Is she coming to
Is there
speak?
some-
Ma'am, did you want to speak? Come on to the mic. Oh, well, you get a free parking ticket with your first time visit at City Hall, so.
I just
have a question. This property is behind my mother's house. She's 83 years old, and there's a lot going on there with this property, and it's got her very frazzled. So my brothers and I, we need to know what's going on, what are you all planning?
So I'm not the one doing it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Let me tell you just real quick. So
Okay.
it is so what this is would bring it into the city of Columbia. So it would annex it into the city. The person who is requesting the annexation is looking to do a daycare establishment as well as a restaurant. She had been looking at an ice cream store, so a daycare and a restaurant at the time.
And that's it, the daycare and restaurant?
Yes, ma'am. No. All right.
There's a lot of property.
So what you need to know, however, is that's what she has indicated her intentions are. Once she is annexed and it is zoned the office and institutional, she is permitted to do whatever is permitted under that office and institutional.
Krista, could you share just with her what could be done there, just so she knows, because I think this is her point of interest of just understanding what could possibly go on there.
Well, there's quite a list of things that's permitted under office and institutional. It wouldn't be the best to go with the list currently, but it's low-level office, some residential, some sorts of retail service uses as well.
Can we get an email address for you, ma'am, and we can make sure we email you all the possibilities? Because what we'll do today, just so you understand the process, we'll give it a first reading. And then if there's some concerns or questions between first and second reading, we can connect as well. And we'll encourage the applicant, which is Art Smart Academy After School, to maybe just touch base if they haven't with you already. If you could share your contact information with our clerk, we'll make sure you get that information. Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Hampton, I think that was one of my questions, if you knew whether or not the applicant had reached out to I don't know if there's a neighborhood association there or anything.
I do not know whether she's done that.
Can you find out between now and second
Absolutely.
reading?
And Ms. Herbert, I'm assuming that we want to make sure that takes place before second reading.
Yeah, that's what before second reading.
Is there anything else? Our map is now up for anybody who can't see. Is there any other comments? Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other comments, questions? I know we're getting some information here. Madam Clerk, will you read the roll?
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Your next case is an annexation, future land use map amendment, and zoning map amendment for 1709 Smith Street. This is a request to annex the property and assign a land use classification of industrial and assign a zoning of light industrial district at the time of annexation.
We're still on the first one.
Yes, my button is not forwarding the slides. If you all could please forward the slides to the next case.
We're frozen.
So am I.
Here we go.
Keep going a few more, please. There we are. One more will probably help.
Maybe not.
That's it.
There, so you can see that's near 77 Shop Road.
Went too far.
Yep. Please return back one, thank you. That's good, thank you.
Mr. Brennan?
Public comment,
Yeah.
then I'll make a motion.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor or against this annexation? Seeing and hearing none.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, you get seated if you wouldn't mind reading the roll here.
Yes, sir. Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Your next case is an annexation, future land use map amendment, and zoning map amendment for 2601 Two Notch Road and 1608 Germany Street. It's a request to annex the property assigned a land use classification of urban edge multifamily and a zoning of community activity center corridor. One more, please. Thank you. This is a donut hole right there at Two Notch, Germany, and Covenant.
Is there anyone to speak for or against this item?
Ms. Hampton, if you would, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Hampton, if you would say a word to other members of council. You and I have had some conversation about this. Say some word about how that building is going to be utilized and annexing it into the city.
Certainly,
Can you do that?
the proponents of the annexation indicate they're going to establish a pet grooming business. As I indicated with the Broad River Road annexation, however, once they're annexed, they can establish any business that is permitted under the zoning of the CAC. But we believe that is an appropriate zoning for that corner.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Reverend McDowell?
So move.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
I will put on the record that by bringing in this donut hole, that we're saving the county some money, and I hope they appreciate we take that off their list. With that, Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Number 13 is an annexation, future land use map amendment and zoning map amendment for 7611 and a half Garner's Ferry Road and .40 acres at the south side of Fountain Lake Road. Request to annex the property and assign a land use classification of Urban Edge Regional Activity Center and a zoning of General Commercial District.
I wrote out there, I couldn't figure out the half part.
I think there's a
Kept
business.
looking like there was something else supposed to be there, and I couldn't figure out where it was. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this annexation? Mr. Brennan, this is District 3.
Thank you, sir. Motion to approve.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll, please?
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Number 14 is an annexation, future land use map amendment and zoning map amendment for plus or minus 10.7 acres next to Shop Road Extension. It's a request to annex the property, assign a land use classification of industrial and a zoning of light industrial with a portion in the floodplain at the time of annexation.
Before I ask if there's anybody here in favor, I had received a question, and somebody had asked me how that worked, the portion within the floodplain overlay district. And they were trying to read up in our code how that worked. Could you just take 2 minutes to explain that to whoever had asked that question? Because they're not here, but I imagine they're listening.
Certainly, when you have, what we do is we pretty much mirror FEMA's floodplain maps. So when you have a portion of that that is in the floodplain, it is also assigned the floodplain overlay district. So it's, our zoning regulations don't necessarily govern it, it's the FEMA flood.
So we're just
regulations.
mirroring FEMA.
Correct.
Okay. I have that in my repertoire for the future. Is there anybody here to speak for or against this annexation? Hearing none, seeing none. Is
Motion
there
to
a
approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, could you read the roll, please?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
15 is an annexation, future land use, and zoning map amendment for plus or minus 14.9 acres on the north side of Pineview Drive. Request to annex the property, assign a land use classification of industrial and a zoning of light industrial with a portion in the floodplain overlay district. This will, the darker blue will show you the floodplain overlay.
And that's connected
good.
to the.
That
to
is
the-
connected to that last
To
one.
the piece that we just approved as well.
Correct.
Is there anyone who speak for or against this? Seeing none, hearing none, is there a motion, Mr. Brennan?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Annexation, future land use, and zoning map amendment at 1109 Kinley Road. A request to annex the property and assign a land use classification of community activity corridor and a zoning of community activity center corridor at the time of annexation.
Is there anybody here to speak for or against this annexation on Kinley Road? Ms. Herbert?
So moved.
Or second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll, please?
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Moving past 17 and 18, which was deferred, to number 19, which is just a zoning map amendment, otherwise known as a rezoning for 621 Amherst Avenue, a request to rezone the property from residential two-family in the Shandon Community Character Protection Overlay to Neighborhood Center Corridor District. This rezoning is requested to facilitate its redevelopment with a commercial property there adjoining Divine Street.
Is there anybody here to speak in favor or against this?
We have Mr. Bill Hall.
I live at 615,
Just speak in the mic, just so we can record it. Thank you, sir.
and I live at 615 Amherst, and the property adjacent to the 621 Amherst. Both properties are 60 feet wide, 620, and 621, excuse me, is rezoned from RD to NAC, because I'm pretty sure it's going to get rezoned. All right, that a 30-foot buffer is required by the current UDO, okay? Coupled with the driveway access, that leaves only about 20 foot of commercial development, which is not feasible. However, the UDO allows that a 50% reduction from 30 feet to 15 feet is allowed if an 8-foot masonry wall is constructed along the entire length of the property line. All right? So in my opinion, the first thing that needs to happen before anything is done on that property is the construction of that wall. Okay? Because the wall not only will prevent any encroachment on my property from any demolition or development, but will also protect the integrity of my property from any demolition or development. So, and because, the construction of the wall is required and stipulated by the UDO to reduce the buffer, because in the original plans, the developer had no idea about the 30 foot. He just drew up the plans using the whole property. So that's the only reason I'm here, is to go on the record, is to say that, I expect the wall to be constructed once this property is rezoned. I mean, I was told when I called zoning is that, well, if it takes 4 years to develop the property, it takes 4 years to build a wall, and I don't see it like that. I think once the property is rezoned, then the first order of business is building that wall. And that's the only reason I'm here, is to go on the record, to voice my opinion.
You voiced your opinion at the Shannon neighborhood a couple of months ago, and I attended that in place
Right,
of
well,
Mr. Brent.
I spoke up at the Shannon neighborhood meeting
That's
months
right.
ago, and, the whole 9 yards, and they voted unanimously to approve the same thing. I'm not opposed to it, I just want.
You just want the
rules to be
wall built
followed.
before they do
Because
anything
if you
else.
look at the map, the 621, it's an L-shaped property where Divine Street is here, all right, and there's an office building, and they use an L-shaped driveway.
Yep.
And on 621, see, there's been no buffer. And once back when it was RSF, I don't think it really mattered or whatever, but, the bottom line is there was no buffer between the Divine Street commercial property and the 621 Amherst property. And so now, whoever bought the property bought the whole thing, but they want to make the RD the NAC. And like I say, my only reason for being here is to get on the record to say, well, if you want to make it NAC, to reduce that 30-foot buffer to 15, you got to build a wall.
I think everybody's in agreement.
Excuse me?
I think everybody's in agreement.
Right, okay. Well, everybody knows the rules. I just wanted to get on the record, that's all. So I
Is-
appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is the developer here? Think we can work with this gentleman to satisfy his quest? Yes, please. I think it's a reasonable. Yes, sir.
Tim's with Garvin Design Group Architects, here with Jeb Zoller, potential developer of the property. It is not currently purchased yet, but we're working very closely to it, and that's been part of the process here. We have heard that and agree that there's a due diligence to make sure the property values surrounding this property are first and foremost. That's really been the point, to invest in the community here. With that, obviously engineering, we all want stormwater to work well with your neighboring property too. That's really the first step, is to make sure everything is addressing it, that the wall is not creating more problem than it's benefiting. But we all do agree that the wall is the best initial step, once they understood overall plan, is exercised in design. So there are design steps that have to take place, but under due diligence and under some expediency, we will work with the neighborhood to make sure step A and step B are ironed out with their.
You think you'll have a pretty good idea from a stormwater runoff and kind of layout before second reading, maybe a couple weeks, or is
Well, part of
that?
that has been waiting on, this
Hearing.
getting rezoned makes it a feasible project. So if first reading gives some level of assurance that that will take place and can close, obviously, second reading is really the ideal point where an investment of that magnitude should take place. So we wouldn't really
Well, I mean,
ask our client to invest that level of money ahead of actually owning the property.
well, I mean, that doesn't make sense either, but
So
I think
we are
that.
kind of in a,
I think the biggest thing that here, I think what he's asking makes a lot of sense. So if we can work together, I have great respect for the Garvin Design Group. I know they work very hard and have done incredible projects in our community. I know y'all will do the right thing. But we're going to give it first reading, but we do want to make sure that we're working towards coming up with a solution and a rendering, at least sharing that as well.
we've actually done that a couple of times with the neighborhood association, particularly on-site with the neighbors, walking the site, understanding the concerns of the wall. We definitely are headed in the right direction, in the same direction. We just have to do our due diligence with our engineers to know exactly what that wall should be to be a benefit, not a nuisance. So that's where we are.
We
following that.
appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
I will say, Mr. Mayor, that Mr. Zeller and Mr. Timms have done a great job of reaching out to the neighborhood association many, many times. And so we're very thankful for that interaction. With that, motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Item number 20 is a zoning map amendment for 200 Mulberry Lane, request to rezone the property from residential single-family small lot in the Whaley Street Historic Preservation Area, Protection Area, to residential mixed district in the Whaley Street Historic Protection Area. This will allow for the construction of a duplex, which is consistent with the housing in the area.
Does there anybody speak for or against this project? Reverend McDowell, this is a District 2.
Krista, let me ask you a question about this particular zone. We looking at single-family dwellings?
No, a duplex.
It would facilitate the construction of a duplex, which is consistent with, many of the houses in the Mill District were actually constructed as duplexes. So this would facilitate that redevelopment.
And
And it remains in the historic protection area, so it will be subject to design review as well.
yeah, well, that was going to be my next question. Has DDRC looked at this yet?
No, sir, not to my knowledge. I can confirm that. So let me get back to you on that. But regardless, the design will meet the Whaley Street design guidelines.
All right.
Is there, do you have
So
a
move.
motion?
So move. This first reading.
Is there a second? Yes, sir.
Second.
We have a
Yes.
motion and a second. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Number 21 is a zoning map amendment for 951 and 919 True Street. It's a request to rezone the property from mixed use, that's MU1, to general commercial district.
Is there anybody here to speak for or against this? Yes, ma'am, please.
My name's Rachel Arnett, and I represent the apartment community right next to that, so I don't know what that means.
The mixed use, they are both mixed-use commercial districts. The general commercial that it would be rezoned to allows for more uses than the mixed-use district. The MU1 is a little bit of a low level of a commercial, and quite honestly, prior to our recent rezoning, it used to be light industrial right there. So either one is actually less intense than it was just a few years ago. And it's being requested to facilitate the inclusion of storage facility there at the contractor's office right there.
Okay, yes.
Willem, so they needed a greater intensity to allow for that use because the current use isn't permitted. And the zoning is. Yes, ma'am.
Did that answer your questions, ma'am? Any other questions, concerns? Mr. Duval?
I move approval.
There's a second. There's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll, please?
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Next is a zoning map amendment for 5.51 acres on the west side of Floyd Drive. It's a request to rezone the property from single-family residential small lot to mixed-use district. That's MU1.
Is there anybody speak for or against this? I know that I had one person sign up, Max Nelson.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for your time and consideration. My name is Max Nelson. I'm a graduate of the University of South Carolina. While at the university, I was a member of the men's rugby team. After graduation, I moved on to play for the City of Columbia's rugby team. During that time, I noticed that the rugby team in Columbia did not have a place to call home. They bounced around to multiple recreational facilities all around the city. And I'm currently working with SCORE LLC to work on rezoning this property and get it in shape to call a place home for Columbia's men's rugby team and women's rugby team. The property, as I'm told by the current owner, was at one time under contract with a developer to develop single-family residential homes on the property. It was not suitable for that use due to failing multiple inspections of the property. It is my opinion, and the opinion of the LLC I'm working with, that this would be an excellent place to call home for this sports team. It's going to be a recreational facility. If you can see in the packages that I brought for you, one of the last couple of pages, there's multiple pictures of the site. As you can see, the site is overgrown, run down, and not in use whatsoever. Our proposal will bring, a good, positive use to the property and allow an opportunity for our men's and women's athletic programs to have a place to call home. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Just out of curiosity, had you had any conversations, or the rugby team had conversations with any of the county or city parks about finding sites, or talking to them about utilizing existing place? Just
I would kick that question over to Matthew Foxworth. Matthew's been a part of the program for many more years than myself. He would be more informed on that subject.
To answer your question, for years, we have talked to the Parks and Recs departments in Columbia. Back in 2006 and 2007, we actually brought the largest rugby tournament in the United States to the area. It was over 1,500 people. And we had to take it to Lexington because Columbia couldn't find room for us. Currently, we practice at Owens Fields, but we're having to play a large number of our games in Lugoff Elgin. We've just had very little luck finding a permanent home for us. And the more you bounce around, the more players you lose. It tends to be a situation where, I go to practice, well, I went to practice, well, they moved practice somewhere else. Or I'm supposed to play a game here, and I went to the wrong place for a game. We've seen the more successful teams in the areas are groups that have a stable home. So what we were trying to do is, we've been in Columbia for 50 years. We have over 1,200 past players in the area, and we've been collecting money, and we're trying to build our forever home so we can establish ourselves. So we have worked with the parks groups. We tend to get bumped for soccer when soccer comes in, or youth sports.
they let the little kids and put you big kids on the back burner.
And that's what you run into. You have children and you have parents, and at this point, I have a daughter, and it's the same thing where you go, I want my daughter to be able to enjoy youth sports growing up just like I did. And we're kind of taking the stance, well, as adults, we now can afford to buy our home. So that's what we're looking to do.
I do have a couple of questions, Mayor, or I don't know if you want to take public comment first.
What would suit you? Do you have questions for the gentlemen that are here? I'd go ahead and do
Yes.
that, and then we'll bring up
Just
whoever else.
two for right now, based on what you said earlier. You have a women's team and a men's team already.
Yes.
And about how many people are on each of those teams?
Probably 20 on each team. 24.
And then you mentioned earlier that you had to take the tournament, I think, to Lexington.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you plan to have tournaments at this location?
This place is too small. When we went to Lexington, we used 8 fields. This place is big enough for a field and a half. So this is going to be more where we play for game days. And then we would still partner with the city for bigger events.
Okay. That's it, just based on what they said at this point.
Can you give us a general site improvement amount of investment that we're talking here for your use?
We're estimating $250,000. What's nice with the property right now is a big portion of it is already flat and cleared. We could actually set up and be playing on that one portion.
You could do that.
Within a year or so, with very little adjustment having to be made. Now, our goal is at some point to turn the facility into a high-end facility with an urban orchard involved in it. That would be a lot larger amount of money. We're guessing at $250,000 to $500,000 kind of range. So
Any feedback from the neighborhood on traffic upticks?
that is, they have expressed concerns about the traffic. And that's where we stand. There's really no way to improve where we are from a traffic expense. Now, there are two, if you can see on the map, there is another very large park right beside here. So we're assuming that, you know, our traffic would not be a major uptick from what they're already seeing with such a big green area in their neighborhood.
But you have fans that come out to watch the games.
Very few, you know.
We got to talk about the product you're offering here, guys. You got to.
To answer your question, on average, you probably have 60 people at a game, and that's including players. So there's usually 20 players on each team, and then maybe 10 or 15 husbands or wives. We're not a very popular.
Gotcha, understand. How about?
I hate to say it that way.
To piggyback off that as well, when a traveling team is visiting, as we did when we were playing, carpooling is encouraged. We typically took vans, be 2 or 3 vans to shuttle all the players. So that's really going to bring that traffic count way down when you consider that these guys are carpooling and shuttling in transport vans.
So when we say we're a sport, it's in a very loose, I mean, we're a sport, but it's in a very loose term compared to the Fireflies.
Right, right. But if you're
We'd love to
successful,
see everyone come out and enjoy our games and support us. You know, we definitely want
Free
more
admission,
fans.
right?
Yeah.
but if you are successful in the rezoning, that opens the door for other denser, which is concerning. Let me, lights. Are we talking about athletic field lights?
Not at this point, not immediately, no. And, you know, we typically play on Saturdays, and the games are, you know, anywhere from 2 to 10, or I'm sorry, from 10 to 2. So, you know, the lights aren't exactly a necessity for the play. And, you know, just to bring up one more point, if there is some contention, I would encourage county council to consider negotiating a developer agreement where we could work through some of these concerns rather than categorically denying.
Well, that should be done prior to rezoning, I would suggest. The in and out is concerning in the uptick of traffic. A letter of support or opinion from the neighborhoods would have been nice. But thanks for your time.
Is there anybody else who wants to speak before we take some more questions and comments?
Mayor Rickerman, members of council, my name is Ida Thompson, and I do want to speak to the issue that is on the table currently regarding the rezoning of that 5.5 acres. As you have been discussing, one of the major concerns, if I could direct everyone's attention to the map, you can see that this property is deeply embedded in the Farrow Hills, Farrow Terrace community. There's no easy way to get to it other than weaving through a residential community to get to it. And so that is a great concern, the safety of our community, of our children, of our residents for access to and from the property. Additionally, a concern is the atmosphere of the community. I know those who are supporting this initiative say this is not an everyday thing, but when there are tournaments, when there are games, when there are rehearsals, the atmosphere of the community is going to change concerning the amount of traffic that's in and out of the area. So that is of great concern. And then another concern that I have, that many of you in this room may not have had this experience, but having grown up in this area, as a little girl, all of this area was woods. It was nothing but wooded area. My brothers and I would walk these woods and cut down our Christmas trees. This particular area is what we used to call the cesspool. That's what it was. So I have great concerns about the water, what's under this property, what has been done to address that. Is there additional testing required to determine issues, if there are any, with what is under the ground in that area? That's what we called it, and that's what it was for this developing area. And then how does this fit into the overall master plan for this area? Is this something that was thought about before? Is this something that is supported in the master plan for the North Main area? That is a concern. And then, you know, I'm not against promoting wholesome athletic activities. I think that's great. I just don't think this is the place for it in our community, deeply embedded in the heart of this area, which has very limited access. And so I would ask you to think about these things, continue to do research. What are the requirements from the city regarding this property in terms of investigating what is under the ground? I know in the proposal that these gentlemen made to us in our Zoom meeting, they talked about making this an orchard. I don't think I would eat anything that's grown from this particular property, given what I know about the history of that particular area. I'm not being funny, I'm being very serious, because the water quality, as we see across this nation, issues with water quality in our communities. So that is another question that I think needs to be addressed. And so I would ask that there be additional consideration for this, that perhaps, as you noted earlier, Mayor, that maybe there are others in the community, in the organization and leadership of the city, who could help them find another location that is better suited, that has better access, where the safety of the community and the residents is not of question.
Thank you, Ms.
so much.
Ida. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Mayor.
Public first.
Good afternoon. My name is Tracy. I am the president of the North Columbia Civic Club. How's everybody doing today? Absolutely. Upon hearing and finding out about this in the early part of February.
Ms. Tracy, do you mind sticking with the mic? It's
Bring
hard
it
to
down.
hear.
Is that better?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
So when I found about this in the earlier part of, that's better, of February and January, yes, I seeked out finding Mr. Foxworth, and I emailed him and waited for his response to say, come speak with us and talk to us about these plans that were rumored. I never got anything in the mail. There were rumors of something happening. People saw the sign. Nobody really paid attention to it. I investigated and found out, oh my goodness, this is happening. So with that, they did absolutely, look, he is passionate about rugby, let me tell you.
I couldn't tell.
I want him to play rugby somewhere. However, we absolutely disapprove of the rezoning of that parcel. It is embedded, like Ms. Ida said, in the heart of our community. I have signatures of all the houses adjacent to it, which are 9. I have 7 of 9 of those. One, nobody lived there. The other one, no one was home. I have 7 of the 9 that's actually attached to the property that disapproved. I have 1 that's in front of the property that disapproved. And then on Floyd, I have the 6 to 7 that face the property that disapproved. I have half of Floyd all the way up almost disapproving. I have neighbors on West Campanella that will come from Farrow Road to get to the property, and I have neighbors on Cindy Drive disapproving. I have signatures from 2 churches in my community that disapprove. I have visitors that no longer live in the community but have lived there and now visit in my senior citizen exercise group that disapprove. We are not in favor of rezoning of this property. We are trying to maintain a peaceful neighborhood for our mature voting adults. This neighborhood is majority seniors. I had to, in getting signatures, explain to them what rugby was. Matter of fact, in our meeting, they asked them, excuse me, sir, can you please tell us what is rugby? We've never even heard of it. So
They got a women's team, Tracy. You can join in.
well, from what I read, there's a lot of concussions, more than football in the sport of rugby. So So far, we disapprove. This is not a benefit to our community. We will absolutely not eat anything from the orchards that were supposed to be part of the perimeter. And we stand with city staff in saying that this is not part of the master plan. And what is part of the master plan is what enhanced the original design for our community. And this is not it.
May I ask a question, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, 1 second. Ms. Hampton, could you just clarify for me on the map? The backside off the baseball field, that's part of our park there?
What was the question?
Where's that?
They're between.
Oh, that's the baseball field.
What the pipe is?
I can't say with 100% assurance, but I believe it is. We can confirm that. But again, I believe we lease this land. So,
Reverend
McDowell?
Mr. Mayor, ma'am, Ms. Sider, could you come? Just based upon what I've heard, has there been any conversation with the community and with those persons who are seeking rezoning of that piece of property?
Yes, I will repeat. I invited them to a special meeting for them to tell us about their plans.
All right. Were those issues that were raised by Ms. Ida? Those issues that were raised by Ms. Ida, were those issues addressed? Or did they address, Mr. Foxworth, were those issues addressed?
We gave them a list of things that we were concerned about. I did get an email from Mr. Foxworth saying they were going to speak with engineers because we brought up the idea of the soil failing compaction testing and things of that nature, and had they did any research about the actual soil and the contamination thereof, but I haven't, no.
And I understand it was traditionally called the what? The cesspool?
Well, the correct term is cesspool. The nickname was doo-doo pond.
Well, that doesn't get any better.
It does not. The city would spray for mosquitoes back in the early 70s because of the problem.
I guess what I'm asking both of you, of course, yes, ma'am, has adequate conversation ensued with those persons who are seeking rezoning and the community? And if those questions were asked, have they been addressed? Or at least put on a timeline where they could perhaps be addressed?
Absolutely not.
Well, I was going to say, and Reverend McDowell, I may be able to help. I don't think that they can give them the solution that they want, which is
All right.
they don't want it. Yeah.
Well, that's primarily what I'm hearing, and it doesn't sound like a rugby field. It sounds like a cesspool, and I say that no pun intended. But it seems like there has not been any advanced work done that would relate to the community and the community's concerns. Thank you, ma'am.
We did have that Zoom meeting, and as Tracy said, we heard a lot of information, and we asked a lot of questions that we did give to the group for them to research, and we even suggested, because that was a Zoom meeting, we suggested that perhaps a face-to-face, another meeting that was face-to-face with a larger group of the community would be in order, and they could bring answers to those questions to that larger audience. Okay. But we've not had that event to take place at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you'll see on the agenda, the proposal is made by SCORE LLC. This is a very small, new organization with limited funding at this time. We do not have the financial capability at this time to explore all of the concerns that have been brought up. Our intention is to rezone the property to our appropriate use prior to investing significant financial means into the project. We do not have the financial capability to do that without having some initial feel for whether we'll be able to do what we would like to do at the property. The term cesspool was used. At the same time, y'all went out there and cut your Christmas trees off of that cesspool. It is our hope to improve that property and bring it to something better in that community than a cesspool. Our hope is to turn that into green space where youth and adults alike can participate in athletic events. As you'll see in the package that I put in front of you, athletics are a great deterrent to crime. And in this area, there is a lot of crime. We're trying to provide an opportunity for something other than. We intend to address all of the concerns of the community, but we cannot invest the significant financial resources to doing so before we have the appropriate zoning.
I think what I would tell you is that I would like to see you have a home and a place. I'm not sure this is the place or the home, and I understand your quandary because a lot of what's asking, but understanding what that property is, where it is, what's can deal with it is part of, unfortunately, a development risk. And you can't take that risk, and I understand that. What I would tell you is I don't think there's support to rezone this property where it is. I mean, it really is, you're not creating a green space, you're creating an event space for athletics, and totally support that. What I would do, and what I'm willing to do, is try to work with you guys to find a suitable site. And it may be something that we have, the state has, or somewhere else, where we can find you a spot where y'all can put your dollars into the field, which is where you really want it to go. And so what I would tell you is that I'm willing to work with my team to help you. I think rugby, I have a cousin who's a big rugby person, and it is a unique sport that it's a family sport. They become family and everybody's involved. Just like we support the tennis courts there, we support the seniors who have time there, we need to find you a spot that makes the most sense. So what I will tell you is I don't think this is going to pass. I don't think it's the right location. I think y'all tried to find the right location, and I applaud your effort and why you want to do it. But I will tell you, I think we just got to help you find a spot. I need to understand what you need, because I do think there's some opportunities that where we could possibly help you find the right spot, so that you can have that home in that central location where you can practice and have the facilities that you need in the parking, all the things that you want to have to make your days on Saturdays, and I'm assuming y'all play more than on just Saturdays, but to have a space that's yours. And so that would be my commitment to you, is to work with you guys to help you find a home that's suitable, and for you to be able to go back to your alumni and everybody else and say, we're going to get a place that works for us and makes sense. And I know y'all were trying to do it. It's just not the right location. And I want to be honest with you, but also don't want you to think that we don't want to try to encourage the sport to stay here in our community. I prefer you not to go to Elgin or Lexington. I prefer you to be right here.
We prefer that as well. And I appreciate your comments, and I'm going to hold you to it.
Hey, you won't be the first.
If we vote on this tonight, and he does not prevail, there's a 1-year wait for the next try?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So that's something you need to consider, you might want to ask us to defer this.
I move for deferral, Mr. Mayor.
No, you don't want to defer.
Mr. Mayor, do we really want to defer it? Based
No, you don't
upon
want to
where
defer it.
that piece of property
You wanna vote it
is,
down?
and just deny it altogether?
I would suggest that the applicant withdraw.
All right, if you do that, then I would not need to make a motion for that.
Same thing.
What was that?
I would have much Rev next time talk to me so I can tell you what I'd rather do, which is deny it.
That's what I'm going to deny it, yeah.
We ain't gotta defer nothing.
And Mayor, that is part of the Greenview Park.
I'm sorry?
That is part of Greenview Park in the event.
The applicant's requested a withdrawal.
All right? Yeah, and we would appreciate if y'all could email us that as well.
Okay.
You want us to vote? Okay.
Move the previous question, Mr. Mayor.
I
There's a
did,
motion on the floor.
what was the motion?
Move the previous question.
It hadn't been
What was the
asked
question?
yet. Did you ask?
Did you
You
make a
haven't
motion
moved.
to the? The motion is, of course, is either to.
Right.
We're debating it.
I'm Howard Boyd. I'm a former city employee, and Max asked me to be here just because I was familiar with location. Just to let you know, the answer to the First Lady's question, this lagoon was it was a sewer lagoon. It was probably closed out by the city in 1990. So that answered the first question. But as a body, as a city, I could look at this map and say, you kind of got a problem because Max and them are asking for some use that's kind of incongruous with the neighborhood. Just like the ladies are trying to say, I can agree with that. But this, to me, is an ideal adoptive reuse of this location because, like Max alluded to earlier, this development this area was proposed for development by single family, which is currently zoned, but physically that's not possible because of the way that the lagoon was closed out. It was not closed out it was closed out for environmental safety, but it was not closed out for redevelopment for single family residential. So I just want to expound on that a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Hampton?
You'll still have an issue here, in my opinion, because it's zoned single family and it's not, I don't think it's economically feasible for that to happen. And it's just a good open area adoptive reuse of almost like a brownfield almost.
Ms. Hampton, can you confirm, again, for the record, why the staff is recommending denial?
Certainly, there's two reasons. One is the council policy generally of not having commercial encroachment into neighborhoods. Sometimes that does happen when you're right adjacent to a commercial corridor. However, this would be commercial encroachment deep inside a neighborhood. Secondarily, it does violate the North Columbia Master Plan, which we just had a meeting on, which did call for this to be single-family residential, understanding that there are potential development hurdles with that, but that was a council policy document that we refer to when making recommendations.
And, okay, thank you.
Motion to deny, Mr. Mayor.
Ms.
Herbert has got the floor.
I just wanted to say too, we just spent a lot of time for those who are here, going through the master plan and talking about how much money we spent on these plans. And so it's important that when we do have them, to follow them. And so I am in agreement with planning and denying the application. And I will make sure that Mayor Rickaman helps to find another location.
Is that a motion, Ms. Herbert?
That is a motion to
Second.
deny.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Madam Clerk?
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles? Aye. Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I do something right quick?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Hampton, excuse me, I know you're on a roll, and if you would, allow me to be just intrusive for just a moment.
Absolutely.
Just a moment of personal privilege, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I want to call I got some students here from W.A. Perry. Where is she? I don't see. Will the students come forward, please, with Ms. Dawson? Ms. Dawson, where are you? I don't want to keep our students here no longer than we have to. You got to do some homework tonight. Ms. Dawson, hey, let me just say a word. We have a group of students here from W.A. Perry, and of course, we wanted to get you on the agenda early, but of course, our agenda is printed early, but we wanted to get you on the agenda so you could at least say a word. Ms. Dawson, of course, teaches social studies at W.A. Perry. I think this is the 7th year. Has also been an employee of U.S. Department of Education. They have an interesting program that I have been really excited about. And Ms. Dawson, I want you to say a word to not only this group, but also to my colleagues. Would you come to, you gonna talk? Who's gonna talk? Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead. Go ahead, young man.
Good afternoon, Mayor Rickman, Councilman McDowell, and the entire esteemed members of the Columbia City Council. My name is Kwame Brooks. I am an 8th grade W.A. Perry student, and today I'm here with Zakiah Bryant, Yetzi Hernandez, Maya Mack, Anissa Inglis, and Tierra Robertson.
Thank you, Kwame. Like Kwame said, we are middle school students, but we are not here through our school audition. Instead, we are here as part of a group called My Ancestors Journey to Ghana.
Pull that up.
The purpose of this group is for knowing.
Come closer.
The purpose for this group is for knowing where we have come from, what's African culture, and where we are going.
We are going to 2 cities in Ghana, which is a country in West Africa. The first, Accra, is the capital and a sister city to Columbia, South Carolina. The second, Cape Coast, is rich in history, including the history of enslavement, which is one part of the connection between Ghana and South Carolina. In addition to studying the difficult and beautiful parts of the history of Ghana's connection to South Carolina, during the 8 days that we will be there, we will also participate in a naming ceremony and learn about their style of dress and other parts of their culture.
This trip is an investment in us as the future of Columbia, but it is not only about us. While we are in Ghana and when we come back, we will give back to both places in some way through community service.
We are here to share our dream of this transformational journey with you. We are also here to ask for your support as a major sponsor. This trip will not be possible for all 6 of us without major sponsors. Each individual trip costs $4,000, and with 6 young people, we are raising $24,000.
We are asking, We are asking you to sponsor this trip through special funds that the city has access to, or with your own personal network. And this sponsorship is an investment that comes with returns. These returns are 1, gifts from Ghana for you, a special presentation after we return sharing all that we have learned, thanking you publicly in our honor before, during, and after the trip. Finally, the peace of mind knowing that you are supporting the future of our city through pouring into us. Thank you for taking the time to listen and consider if you can help our dreams and vision.
We would now love to use this time to take questions. Can I come up there to hand you a flyer?
What's the flag?
Let me just say a word of thanks to every one of our students. Thank you all so very, very much. I will personally put the information that I have regarding the trip and our students' success in this trip in each one of our council members' boxes, and they will judge themselves accordingly. Ms. Dawson, thank you very much for your insight and for pulling us together, and I wish we could have done that this early on, but you all have made us glad. In the midst of the zoning presentation and annexation, you gave us a few smiles here today.
We're going to call it holy interruption.
We're going to call it holy interruption. Thank you all for being here today. You want to say something, Ms. Julia? Come on to the mic.
ma'am.
Say quickly that this is a labor of love outside of my teaching at W.A. Perry, but of course we have the full support of Dr. Coltrane, but this is not through the school or the district. As a U.S. Department of Education Fulbright Hays Scholar myself, I have been to Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and then this summer I'm going for a month as a scholar to learn about the connections between South Carolina and Barbados. So on all of these research trips, what I do with our team led by Dr. Gloria Boutte and others at USC and also SC State and several other universities is we gather artifacts and information to bring and infuse our curriculum with a more accurate portrayal of a part of the world that South Carolina has a deep connection to, West Africa, and also Barbados this summer, but also that has been misrepresented and in some cases erased completely from history books. Thankfully not ours in this state, but there's a fraught history to say the least. And so that opportunity put it on my heart, and I'll say God put it on my heart after making these trips, that I want to do more than bring the curriculum to them. I want them to come with me and have the transformational experiences that I've had on the continent. And so Accra is a sister city. They are working hard. They are developing a community service project. And we just hope and pray that God works and brings us the people and places and organizations that will help make it possible for them to come with us this April.
Accra
So,
is
thank you.
a special place. My cousins were all born in Accra. My uncle and aunt lived there from 1948 until 1977, and now they live in Karen, Kenya. And obviously, we had the mayor of Ghana here last year. Madam Mayor was here, incredible woman, and really wants to create those connections better. I will tell you that there's some incredible State Department grants right now for projects like this that we need to connect you with. They just formed a new office at the State Department with a former ambassador. So we'll try to connect you with that as well to see what's available to help fund that. But I wish you luck in your journey. I will tell you, once you've been to Africa, it will change your life. The people, the food, the atmosphere, everything around it will really, you'll feel it in your heart and your soul. It's really a special place.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to also say a word to Milton Mack. He was very.
It's the Ed Show.
Go ahead, man. That's right. Milton wanted to make sure that we got this and could make this presentation. Thank you all so very, very much. I yield back to Ms. Hampton. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I won't be offended because you indicated that somehow zoning public hearing doesn't make you smile.
but
That's right.
That's okay.
That's right.
We'll make you smile here. All right, so we are moving into a section of the hearing where we are just confirming land use map and zoning map amendments for previously annexed property. So you have two items for each address. If it pleases council, you can take them together. 23 and 24 is a future land use and a zoning map amendment confirmation for 8325 Old Percival. This would confirm the future land use classification of urban edge residential small lot, and it would confirm the zoning of residential mixed district, that's RM1.
Is there anyone here to speak? I have to say, the sign-up sheet is a little messy, so I can't read all the projects on it. But was there anyone who wanted to speak for or against this? All right, hearing none, seeing none. Is there a
Motion to
motion for
approve.
23 and 24?
Move approval.
So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustos?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
25 and 26 is a future land use and zoning map amendment confirmation for 3800 Overbrook Drive and 616 Suber Street. It is a request to confirm the future land use classification of urban core residential small lot and confirm the zoning of residential mixed district.
Okay, I have several people signed up. The first one is Patrick Mahoney. Good evening.
And members of the council, can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
I'm here to represent a number of homeowners in the district that we're discussing here. And I have a personal and financial interest in what goes on in my neighborhood, but I'm going to restrict my remarks today to infrastructure. The water system, to take one example in this area, is more than 70 years old, and it is existed long beyond its designed lifespan. And also, it's overburdened beyond its engineered capacity. As a result, we have constant breakdowns of water and sewer. And if you were to go to that property and stand at the corner of Suber and Overbrook Drive, you will see a very large square patch in the road from a major water main breakdown that happened over the holidays. This is one of many, many, many breakdowns of the water system in the sewer. Adding high-density development to this area will tip this system over the edge, and we'll have even more problems. Right now, the city can put Band-Aids on problems as they occur, but they can't solve the problem overall because they don't have the facilities, or the equipment, or the people. If this development is allowed to go through, if high-density zoning is allowed, how are we going to pay for an upgrade? Who's going to pay for that? How are we going to solve that problem? Is the developer going to pay for that? I don't think so. The burden will most likely fall on us homeowners in the form of higher taxes and reduced property values. So I and my neighbors are against this kind of high-density development. We have enough of it already, and it has contributed greatly to the overburdening of the system that exists. If you take a walk down Overbrook Drive, you will see on your right 2 large apartment buildings. On your left, you'll see 2 large condo developments. And at the end of this very short street, you'll be looking at a large condo development. And if you look up to the left on Deerwood Street, you'll see 2 large apartment buildings. And if you go to the right, down to the end of the block of Deerwood Street, you'll see another apartment building. Lots of young people are moving to my area and raising families. They want to have single-family homes, and they want to preserve the character of our neighborhood, just as Shandon has successfully done. So I urge you to disapprove high-density zoning in this area. The other aspect of infrastructure here is traffic. If you've ever driven up Overbrook Drive, tried to get on to Kilbourne, you have another street coming in behind you at an acute angle, and in order to see down Kilbourne to make sure it's safe to pull out, you practically have to break your neck. If we add high-density development here, we're going to increase that traffic. And that's only going to exacerbate that problem. Probably a traffic light will have to be put in. Who's going to pay for that? Is the developer going to pay for it? I doubt it. Is the city going to pay for it? Are they going to be willing to take on that extra expense and burden? Probably not. So I hope I speak for my neighbors in asking you to please disapprove this change in zoning and help us preserve our neighborhood.
Thank
Any
you.
questions? All right, thank you very much.
John Coleman? Okay. I have Carol Williams.
For the opportunity to express. I live on Capers Avenue, which is directly behind the church, which faces Overbrook. So this definitely affects me. First of all, I would like to see that property turned into a park because it is full of over 40 trees and just about 20 or so shrubs that are very mature, and it's a beautiful property. But realistically, I know that's not going to happen. I don't think the infrastructure will support an RM2 there. Now, I second what this gentleman said. Right now on Capers Avenue, there are 2 leaks today. One of them on the corner of Capers and Kilburn is leaking for the 3rd time. The same leak has been fixed twice before. There was a big problem on South Kilburn right before you take a left into that area, and then they had an issue right in front of the property. So I don't think the infrastructure, as this gentleman said, for water and sewer is ready for such a zoning change. Also, I agree that this area does not now have a lot of RM2 zoning, and I don't want to see it come there. I don't want to see that precedence started. There are some apartments on Overbrook there, and of course that is in Richland County. This property is on the line. On my street, I'm in Richland even, but I abut the city. So what the city does is affects me. I worry about the parking there. I worry about the number of units that will go there. And also I worry about the infrastructure traffic-wise. South Kilburn is a heavily traveled road. And Overbrook and my street are cut-through streets between Deerwood and hence on down the South Beltline, and there is a lot of traffic. Also, there's a baseball field 2 blocks away. So I worry about the safety of children in that area when you overload this property. So I am totally against this change for RM2. I would like to see it remain single-family zoning. But at any rate, if you're going to have to let somebody build apartments there, I would propose that at least an RM1 is more appropriate than an RM2 in that area, because that allows for 50 feet high. We're talking 3 stories. And, you know, a developer can tell you this is what they're going to do, but once the change is made, there's no going back, and they can change their mind, and I've seen it done many, many times. So I think on this end of Rosewood, there are not many, if any, RM2 zonings. I don't want to see them there. They're on the other end toward the Rosewood Hills area and what have you. And I think infrastructure-wise, City of Columbia is putting the cart before the horse here. If you're going to add more apartment buildings in this area, you have got to address the infrastructure first. You just can't keep throwing more users at a crumbling system. So, thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
And you guys could use some speakers pointed out that way, because it's hard for the audience to hear.
Hard for us to hear, too.
It's hard for us to
This is my
hear.
first time here, and I appreciate it.
Jeff Scott?
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for allowing me to speak this afternoon. My name is Jeff Scott. I'm the pastor of Calvary Baptist Church, which is located adjacent to this property, and I also live adjacent to this property. 4.5 years ago, when I took on being the pastor of this church, I had a choice. I could live in my home in Blythewood or live here and immerse myself in the community. I chose to live here and immerse myself into our community. And such time, I have made tremendous friends. I get out in the community, my neighbors know me. We are trying to build a sense of community, and it's been enjoyable. My concerns, and I'll reiterate what others have said and what will be said, is the infrastructure. On November the 17th, thereabout, 2022, the main water main coming down South Kilbourne burst in front of our church. The road was untravelable for 3 weeks before it was finally finished. That caused a secondary burst on Overbrook right there at Suber, and a approximately 8-foot wide, 20-foot long hole up to 18 inches deep was left there for 3 months. When I first addressed this with the news media, the city came out and put 4 more traffic cones up and some red tape, and that was supposed to be sufficient. You know, they said it wasn't asphalt season, and so they couldn't fix it. I have some doubts about that. But as of yesterday, the city water department says they have no regulation, no records, no work invoices for anything done on South Kilbourne on or around November 2022. And so why do they not have those records? Another concern is this. In our community, we have a lot of wildlife. We have squirrels, rabbits, raccoons, possum, foxes, and even deer that we get to watch. We also have 3 endangered birds. They're federally endangered. We have owls, buzzards, and hawks. A couple years ago, one of our youth was with me doing some yard work, and we witnessed a hawk coming down and striking a squirrel, and then started to eat it. And this young man was able to come up pretty close to it with binoculars and watch something he had never seen before in his life, and maybe never will be able to see again. But he was fascinated with the nature that's all around us. If we keep removing trees and green, where are these animals going to live? We're forcing them more and more in and encroaching more upon us. Not that we're scared of them, but they are not designed to live in our backyards. They need woodlands, they need trees, they need areas to live in. Why have I chosen to speak? I'll make it very simple. Quoting Ronald Reagan, if some among you fear taking a stand because you are afraid of reprisals from customers, clients, or even government, recognize that you are feeding the crocodile, hoping he'll eat you last. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Robert. Third time's a charm.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, pleasure to be here again. I'm just asking that I hope, like some of the other communities that have been here today, that for our South Kilbourne area in this Rosewood, Overbrook, leading into South Kilburn, that you hear us, listen to us, and I hope please take us seriously. I've lived there with my wife since 1986. That's 37 years. Single-family lot. We put in a lot of money into our house, into our lot, to upgrade it in those 37 years. This project is just wrong for this space for many reasons. One is you come in, there's a sign, "Welcome to South Kilbourne Neighborhood." The pastor's church is right there, and right across from that is this huge single-family lots with, as has been pointed out, these beautiful trees on this large lot. And now he wants to put in 31 townhouses, apartments. Call them what you like. It will change the character of our neighborhood completely. And that's why I hope that this council, Mr. Mayor and the council, that you take this very seriously, because we do have the infrastructure problems. At the corner here of South Kilbourne and Suber, this is really a unique, almost traffic plan that's waiting to happen, because Overbrook runs into Suber. There's really only a way for 2 cars to be there at that stoplight where it's going to be blocking Overbrook. Now you're talking about 31 townhouses or apartments, say even with 2 people in them, that's 62 more people, and it's going to be a major traffic problem where there's already a dangerous situation for school children waiting to go to school there early in the morning when I go to work. So the traffic, you have the traffic and the water. And one thing also, we've done in our little share of Overbrook in this area, we've done our share for multifamily housing and more, and more. They're all over this area, and all we are asking council to do is to preserve the character of our neighborhood here by not letting this project be done. Now, earlier, we had some discussion, well, has there been discussion between property developer, neighborhood association? I'll let the officers of that speak to it. But what I can tell you is it's kind of, from the beginning, been, and certainly the first one where the developer talked to us, this is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put on 31 apartments or townhouses, and that's what I'm going to do. No compromise, nothing. And I think that's wrong for the community, and I hope that any kind of approval is rethought. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Miss Valerie James.
Hello, Mayor and council members. I'm a retired school teacher, and I taught 7th grade for 41 and a half years. And I only can do well talking in front of kids. So if y'all want to talk or pass notes or, get up and walk around the room or throw an airplane, that probably would help me feel a little more. I was very happy to see the kids, because those kids from W.A. Perry are from my sister's school, Hayward Gibbs Middle School. And I taught at Hayward for 41 and a half years. And I taught Latimer Manor kids. I know you know the Manor. And that's my home, and I'm having a little bit of withdrawal seeing these kids, because I haven't been around kids in a long time, since last June. But what I want to say is, the neighborhood that we're talking about, that's where I rode my bike since I was 6 years old. My mother lives on Edmond Drive. My grandmother lived on Bright. I rented places in the area when I was in college and lived with girls. And I married Bob Duddick, and we've lived in the house since 1986. And a lot of changes have taken place. A lot of land was subdivided and little houses were put in, and everything seemed to fit. We were all okay with everything. We've had some bad elements, but we have some really good elements, and my street is good. And when we moved on that street, there were already 4 apartment complexes, and we got along with everyone. People walk their dogs. Everything's great, okay? I love it. I want to stay there. I really don't want to move, at this point in my life. It's great to get anywhere in Columbia. You just pop on Hardin and you pop on Rosewood or Beltline or anything else. But the problem is, I do not think that 37 or however many Mr. Bowers and his people want to put on this property is going to be conducive for a decent residential area. The man's house that's sitting there was built in 1946. It was a farmhouse for that whole area when Kilburn was the edge of, see, I know history because I look up stuff like this. History, it was the edge of city limits. That street and that man's house was right on just the edge, just a few feet, yards from city limits when that whole area wasn't developed at all. And I just think when you come down that street and make that veer, you see that sign that says, "Welcome to South Kilburn Neighborhood," and there's Mr. Rayburn's house sitting up there, and he used to have Purple Martin houses up there, and he had a cannon in his yard that he had tied to a tree, a real, looked like maybe a Civil War cannon, and I just don't see that house being torn down. It's a perfectly good house. It's better than my house, and the land is beautiful, but it's only less than 2 acres. And 31 apartments sitting there as you come down that veer that I've done since I was 6 years old is just a shame. And sometimes change isn't good. And I'm all for affordable housing, but from what I heard from him, that's not going to be affordable housing. It's not going to be affordable for the type of children that I used to teach and the people that need affordable housing. It's just going to be more people on that street. And I did a count of all the houses. There's 11 houses on that street and 5 apartments and 2 at the end of the street on Deerwood. If I put all the people that I know live in the houses and put at least just 1 person or 2 people in an apartment, it's 140 people on a 2-block street. 140 people. This isn't New York, not yet, I just really want you to consider, I want to come in the city. I want my street to come in the city. I wouldn't mind you taking all of Overbrook and bringing us all in, but I really don't want you to change the character of the neighborhood. That's it, and I'm going to give you a test in a few minutes to see how well you listen to me, okay?
I was in the bathroom. I'm sorry.
You were daydreaming, weren't you? Okay, well, thank you very much. And
Thank you,
thank you
Ms.
for my
James.
consideration, and I know I ramble, but the kids said I always did.
I think that is everybody we had for Overbrook. Is there somebody else for Overbrook? That's all I have on my sheet, so
Hello, thank you for your time. I know a lot of people have been coming to the podium and being, in the spirit of anti-ness, but I'm in favor of confirming the actual interim classification to keep it, the mixed residential RM2, because I've read up about the benefits of RM2 and if this year is going to take the available housing that we have to offer our citizens seriously, or even tackle things like homelessness and housing insecurity. I think it's imperative that we do take this classification from interim and actually confirm it to be what it is, and that we include RM2. I know a lot of people have come up here and they're proponents of single-family detached homes, which is a traditional, and there are plenty of those housing styles in Rosewood, but I would say, let's focus on the other portion of this land use classification. Let's focus on the secondary types that fall under RM2, which should be, single-family attached where you share a wall, you have more townhome structures, you can have maybe a triplex or even quadplex. It's not just specifically apartment buildings. When you look at apartment buildings at the vast majority in Columbia or the ones even in District 3, the last few have been off-campus luxury housing or just luxury apartments, which is fine. But Rosewood, Shandon, Old Shandon, all within District 3 would benefit from some sort of new housing structure that wasn't primarily single-family detached. You can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too. If you want to take housing seriously or homelessness seriously, you have to start exploring the options of growth, change, development, even if it's across from a church, even if it makes a former school teacher uncomfortable. We have to start looking at the secondary types that fall under RM2. Another primary reason why I'm here, and let me know when I hit the time, I'll keep my eye on it. There was a flyer going around online that had some misinformation, some false information. As it relates to the applicant, Bowers Property Management, they're not even the developers. Bowers Property Management put in the request or the application so they can get the confirmation so they can have a contract sale. In order to do anything with that property, that classification it has of interim, it has to go to a confirmed status or something that we all deem to be, acceptable or what you see deem to be fit. So the issue isn't even with Bowers Property Management. As far as the developers, based on the information I learned today from Bowers Property Management and also talking with the people with LaFay Construction, that is where we need to address our attention, our efforts. I think whether it's my area or the other people coming to speak for the other areas, there needs to be some sort of mechanism where we can identify when RM2 housing or land comes available and find a way where we can marry the developer's needs along with the community needs. Not everyone getting everything they want. I think it'd be a great location for RM2, secondary type, not single-family detached, along with maybe starting an influence campaign now with your council people, with us here, and working with the developers, say, hey, can we work on a price point for some units, not all? But again, the issue isn't Bowers. They're just putting in so they can do a contract sale. We need to take our efforts and our energy and focus on the developer and use our people that we voted to elect to help influence the outcome aesthetically and also as far as the price point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please vote to confirm it, yeah.
Thank you, Council, again, for allowing us to speak. I've stated before, I 100% support annexation. We need to get rid of the donut holes in our community. I have said when we were rezoning the neighborhood that I did question some of the zoning classifications, especially butting up to this corner, but that's not what we're here about today. This is going to be developed. Change is going to occur, but we do have valid concerns of what needs to be done for infrastructure, roads. As I read the land use, it states situated close to the street with a grid-like pattern. If you read Columbia Compass and Rosewood's 25-year plan, it talks about fitting the character of the neighborhood as you redevelop and infill properties. All we want is character of the neighborhood preserved. And I am not only a resident, but I am on the neighborhood council, and I understand this is sold, this is going to be developed, but we do want some middle ground. We can't stop it by any means, but it's not affordable. These developments are pricing your current owners and renters out of the neighborhood. Because when things are developed and priced at a higher price point, somebody's going to go buy an older complex down the road, do zero improvements to it, and increase rent. We have no legislation in the state of South Carolina to stop rent increases, even at 100%. So this is killing the character of the neighborhood, not this property in particular, but the fact we are so close to the university, and often it is more that student per bedroom price point versus affordability. Obviously, that's a valid concern. I can't most likely purchase again in my own neighborhood, and I had to stop and think today when I got another call do you want to sell your home? And I gave them my standard response. 6 times my appraised value cash offer, a third in escrow in 5 days, and a 15-day close. We don't close in 15, you lose your escrow. She didn't hang up on me. She stopped me and said, what is your real number? And
If you get 6 times and all of that, please send that person to me.
Oh, and then I said I want my seller's commission. But I really had to pause and think what would be a true number for me to sell my property. And this was be the first time I've considered it. We had a high-speed chase with Richland County last Wednesday. If we utilize street parking under the land use, which it does say, utilize street parking with that gridded design, how many of those cars would have gotten taken out? Anybody, because each of those travel lanes is only 9.5 feet, not including the asphalt valley gutter. We can't accommodate street parking. The church shouldn't have to cover the cost to reseal their parking lot if people use that as overflow parking. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure what the church. Nope, the young lady behind you's next. She's been waiting.
Have more this time.
Hello, thank you. I'll make it brief. I won't repeat any of the things said, but my big issue is safety as well. She just brought up parking, 31 units with 62 parking spaces. I don't have a lot of friends, but I do get some guests, and especially if we're thinking that college students might be living in these units, they're going to have friends. They usually have a lot of friends. And then when you consider it's 5 or 6 3-bedroom units, then now we've got more bedrooms than parking spaces. So I think it's a little overzealous in trying to squeeze every drop of blood out of this lot. That can be done. The other thing is with the location of the dumpsters. You know, I've sat through several meetings and listened to all the hard work that you've done about beautification. And these dumpsters are going to end up on the streets because I don't know if you've ever watched one of the commercial dump trucks come in, but there is no way they're going to be able to navigate the sharp curves in the parking lot the way the diagram shows it. So they're going to end up on the back. And what happens then is you can tell every unit that does have college students in it, because every May you can come and you can pick whatever chairs, beds, furniture, dressers, whatever that are there. So I think that's going to become a commonplace as well. But one of the things that I love about Overbrook especially is the number of residents who are out with their strollers and their dogs. And sometimes it's really taken your life into your own hands, but they want to be able to get out. And when we brought up the idea of a traffic study, really believing that these 2 roads, Kilburn and Overbrook, are not going to support 62 cars coming up and down. You know, when we had the water break, it was unbelievable how many more cars were coming down and the rate of speed that they were coming through with. When I back out of my driveway as it is now, you've got to just really, you know, be careful about that. So the parking, again, there's no place for them to park except for on the street, which I understand is a citable offense. And the traffic, when we asked about traffic studies, he said that costs money. No, we're not going to do it. So I think liability-wise, we owe it to all the future residents of Overbrook and Kilburn to make sure that we keep them safe and not invite them into a dangerous situation.
Thank you.
Ma'am, can you state your name for the record?
C.J. Kittle.
Thank you.
Ma'am? Something's ringing.
My name is Melissa Crook. Thank you for letting us speak tonight. I grew up in Columbia. I was born in Providence Hospital and moved away, have an architectural degree, moved back to Columbia in 2006 to take care of aging and ill parents. and I bought a beautiful house on a large lot down the street on Suber Street. I'm concerned about, I think a lot of us are responding to what we saw at a neighborhood meeting of a plan from the developer that showed this sort of donut-shaped building that went sort of edge to edge on the street. I don't know if you guys have seen a plan, with parking in the middle. And it just didn't seem like it fit the character of our neighborhood, of the owners who live in this neighborhood and walk their dogs and play, and children who play at the park. So I think our concern was, as we counted the number of units and heard that there was a mixture of 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units, and knowing that many of these units even in houses in the neighborhood are full of 3 and 4 college students who live there. So you start adding up numbers of cars and thinking about where are these cars going to park if there's not even enough spaces, there's not even 60 parking spaces inside this donut hole. And looking at the plan for the neighborhood, you look at the sketches, you pull up the PDF of this development zoning, and you see setbacks from streets and front doors facing the street and more residential-looking buildings that fit more with the neighborhood. I'm not opposed to having more people live on this corner. I just don't want to see the density be quite as extensive as the 31 units that were shown to us. I think that's what we're responding to is our concern, thinking of Herbie Kirby's and parking. Suber Street is the fire truck emergency access road, and quite often you can drive down these first couple blocks where there are students living in these homes and cars parked more than off of the edge of the street. And if we have people parking on 2 sides of the street, I think there's a concern about how do emergency vehicles get down to the end of the block, or even further. So there's also, as to repeat what other people have said, I think there's a concern about taking out all of this tree canopy and water runoff and the things that may happen and exacerbate some of the flooding problems that are further down the street. So safety, tree canopy, and not fitting in the neighborhood are, I think, some of the things that we who are active in the neighborhood would like to see a little more of a conversation with in how this gets developed. It will get developed at some point, but if the neighbors are more pleased and accepting and have some sort of dialogue, I think is what we're asking for, before it's just carte blanche, kind of gone. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am. State your name for the record.
Hey, I'm Trish McLaughlin, and I'm just here to support all my neighbors over there on Overbrook. I live on Montgomery, which is a street right next to Overbrook, and I guess we're on the wrong side of the tracks or something, but we're in the county, so nobody reaches out to us or tells us what the plans are. And I walk by that property, and I walk through the neighborhood all the time. And like everyone else, I just want to go on record saying I'm hoping that there's some kind of middle ground here so we can get something that achieves our goals of more housing, more affordable housing, but also is less dense. And I think that's just reiterating what everybody else has said. But I want you to know that it's not just the people on Overbrook that are saying that, but other neighbors in other counties or in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir.
I'm in Washington. Up here for a complaint against the city of Columbia police officer.
Get closer to the microphone.
Thank you.
I'm complaining about the city of Columbia police officer. They've been harassing me for over 25 years or more. They won't stop. Man with high blood pressure, diabetes.
I'm glad to hear you, but right now we're doing a zoning hearing, so you have to wait till the end of the agenda, and then you can have the mic. I'm sorry, this is just for the zoning hearing right now.
It is?
Yes, sir.
My bad.
No, I'm sorry.
I had to wait.
Yeah, the public input's at the end of the agenda. Sorry about that, sir. I thought you were talking on this issue. Ms. Hampton, just for the clarification, the existing zoning in the county was for what?
Yes, residential high density, so RMHD. Yeah, I did want to clarify that because it did seem as if some people were thinking there was a change, that this was a rezoning, when in fact this is an annexation with a zoning that is very similar to what currently exists in the county. And so we are confirming the zoning that already exists generally in the county. So without this annexation, the development could occur in the county. However, connecting to municipal water services is part of the reason behind the annexation. But this development would occur without this action by City Council in the county.
And from here, the process would be, just so everybody understands, if it would move forward, what would be the process before the development could receive a permit?
It would require a review by the Planning Commission. They take the city regulations, ensure that those regulations are properly applied to the land. So that is the next step. You will have a sketch plan review first, and then the site plan review would go to the City Planning Commission.
So we have, at this stage, just so I want to clarify, it'll go to a site review, which means all the plans laid out, what's going to happen, that will be for, and I'm saying this because I want everybody to hear what the next step would be. And then our staff would review that. You'd have fire, you'd have everybody go through that plan to make sure a lot of the concerns we've heard, how that's going to be addressed, what can and what can't be. I mean, there's not a guarantee that there are 31 units at this point, correct?
Correct, yeah. To be fair, that's what we've been told. But yeah, and before that won't be established until it goes to the Planning
Through
Commission.
plan review.
Correct. After that, then it goes through land disturbance and then building permit
So
review.
land disturbance, permitting, so forth. Okay.
Correct.
Is this,
Go ahead.
Krista, the UCR1 is the same equivalent to the zoning that was in the county?
So the UCR is actually the land use, but the actual zoning itself is similar to what is in the county. You've got the
The next one.
RMHD,
Okay.
RM2, which is similar to what you have in the county.
And these two items tonight are just to confirm what we brought in that piece of property during the annexation process?
Yes, sir. You have two processes. You go through, you annex the property, you establish an interim zoning and land use, and then you come back for the confirmation of that land.
And the annexation would then allow for us to have more insight on potential renderings and things, because it'll go through our process and not the county's.
Correct, for the site, yes. Yeah, we don't have design review in this area, but we do have a site review.
Mr. Brennan?
You know, much like the developer on Divine Street committed to talking to the neighborhoods for a compromise, you know, the developers here, if you want to come up here and reiterate the willingness to compromise on some of these items, we are still in the path to planning. So now seems like the critical time for us to connect on their concerns.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for the time. And I have met with the Neighborhood Association. Good to see you all again. And we will be meeting with them again before the Planning Commission review. So I've already talked with Michelle about that. So she'll be disseminating that information to y'all. And we'll be glad to meet on site. I think I understand your concerns. Y'all been very consistent with them. So we will discuss the concerns, see where we can come to an agreement, and hopefully present something that's a win-win for everybody.
Great, thank you. Please let us know when that meeting is set. Clint, you know, I think I asked last time they were in front of us a timeline of the infrastructure upgrades. Infrastructure is on us, and it is crumbling in South Kilburn and Rosewood. This council is committed to those infrastructure upgrades. You can see it through the budgets we've passed in the past. We are moving forward, but it takes time. When they meet, can we present the timeline and any potential working together on those water infrastructure projects as this project, if it moves forward, at the same time. Thank you.
Any questions? I'll be glad to answer anything. Thank you all for your time.
Clint, I want to echo, I'm curious about the November missing report. Could we, can we locate that? I know he probably doesn't know it off the top of the head because, you know, we only have a few leaks, so he forgets about them all the
Well,
time.
I think the summary of it, and it was the amount of the construction project required a procurement trigger that took a little bit longer than we wanted. Is that correct? Okay.
Is there anyone else? Mr. Ball?
Mr. Mayor, we've entertained this neighborhood through annexations several times and listened to them on traffic, on infrastructure, on quality of life in that neighborhood. I think they have convinced me that they have reached the tipping point in this area. I have frequently visited in that neighborhood, and I can tell you they're passionate about their neighborhood. And I would hope that the developer would work with the neighborhood, because I think that the development that they have discussed with us, whether or not it's actually a development that you plan to put in there, would be in excess for that neighborhood. And they need to be listened to, that this is a residential neighborhood, and you need to work with them to come up with something that suits their character.
Any other comments? I would say that I think there's an opportunity for us here to, as we've gone through this and knowing that now we can be involved as we finish this process. There's some unique things. There have been some developers who've created some townhomes that when you look at it, you don't realize it's a townhome because there's a single entrance. Those type of things are the conversations we need to have and talk about density, how the trash, take all those complete. But more importantly, the realist is that we've got to do whatever we can to go ahead and make that investment in the infrastructure. I mean, that's the most important thing here for the longevity of the entire community. You know, we can agree and disagree on some of the things that were brought up, you know. Yeah, everybody would like it to be green space forever, but, you know, that's not the reality of where we are in today's world. You know, there's a lot of traffic there on Sundays and other days as well. I've driven through that neighborhood. It's not just this development or somebody else's. A lot of neighbors have cars out in the street too. I've ridden through your neighborhood, I know. I think there's a great opportunity for us to do something here to work together. The planning's moving forward. I have faith that, you know, we'll have, as it goes to Planning Commission and others, for us to be engaged. I think Mr. Brennan has asked that we all be notified so we can participate too, so we can hear as the conversations go on. But I think we'll need to work together on taking care of the immediate needs of the infrastructure, most importantly. And I think that's our biggest commitment here today as a council, is that we want to make sure that you don't have any more issues. As we've made our plan and spending $120 million a year, continuous into our water and sewer system to improve that, and trying to do it without raising property tax, which we haven't done in 12 years. So we're doing our part every chance we can, but we got to continue to do more, and we are investing in our community. I just want to say that. That I would lean to the council member for that district.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Mr. Bowers, I hope we look forward to seeing you at the meeting, and hopefully some really neat designs that fit right in with the character of the neighborhood. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Ms. Herbert? Aye. Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
26.
Continuing on, 27 and 28, if it pleases council, also can be taken together. It's a future land use and zoning map amendment confirmation for 1921 Pineview Drive. This is a request to confirm the future land use classification of Urban Edge Community Activity Center and confirm the zoning of general commercial.
Is there anybody here to speak for or against? Krista, behind you.
I'm Jay Montgomery, Vice President of Operations with Safe Road Credit Union. I'm here to speak in support and answer any questions as needed.
Does anybody have any questions? Concerns?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Madam Clerk, please read the roll.
Ms. Herbert? Aye. Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell? Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
And your final item this evening is an amendment to the text of the Unified Development Ordinance to establish regulations for smoke and vape shops to add definitions and measurements for these uses.
Is there anybody here to speak for or against, or any questions on this?
I move approval of the amendment.
Second.
We got a motion and a second.
Question, does this go into effect upon approval?
It
Yes.
went into effect.
In essence, because of your pending ordinance doctrine, we actually have been enforcing it already.
Perfect. All right.
So yes,
Thank
but
you.
indeed it does.
Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Sir, Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell? Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
That concludes your zoning public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Hampton.
Thank you, Krista. Item 30 is an ordinance for first reading, ordinance number 2023-024, authorizing the city manager to execute amendment number 8 to amended and restated agreement of sale and purchase between the City of Columbia and Baker Real Estate Developers, LLC, for the sale of parcel A containing approximately 27,664 square feet and parcel B containing approximately 25,444 square feet located on the eastern side of Gist Street between Laurel Street and Blanding Street and known as listed in Richland County.
I move approval of the ordinance.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Questions, concerns? Hearing none, seeing none. Madam Clerk?
Ms. Herbert? Aye. Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolutions, item 31, resolution number R 2023-008, authorizing consumption of beer and wine beverages only at the Columbia Mardi Gras Festival at City Roots
Motion to
Urban
approve.
Farm.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Ms. Herbert? Aye. Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Item 32, resolution number R 2023-009, authorizing condemnation for easement acquisition for sanitary sewer main along Crane Creek Lower North Branch for the
I
capacity
move
upgrade.
approval of the resolution.
Second.
Still think we need to be selling Crane Creek. Just making that comment.
Duly noted.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll, please?
Ms. Herbert? Aye. Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
And at this time, if there are any city council committee referrals, reports, or new business?
Are there any referrals, any reports for this meeting?
Mr. Mayor, at the latter part of this month, at the end of this month, of course, the Administrative Policy Committee will come perhaps with a report contingent upon council reviewing that report prior to bringing it to council, referencing boards and commissions.
And Mayor, this is not a referral, but since we've spent our day with planning tonight, I did want to commend the planning staff and code enforcement and fire department and all of the other departments that helped us with our community meeting. Excellent job, and PR, who helped get folks out. They've been working hard.
Thank you. Any other referrals or comments or reports? We are at the stage of public input. I believe, Mr. Sir?
Carmel Washington.
Mr. Washington, the floor is yours. Lost my list here.
I was, hear me?
Pull your mic down.
Excuse me?
Pull it down, too.
Pull it down.
Can't hear you. Yeah, as I was saying, these city police officers bothered me for a long time. And I had a problem with Richland County too. But it was the city for about the last year. And they were going to my employer. I was losing jobs. They did this, you can address it with them. I can't even understand it. Worst I did is a misdemeanor. I'm willing to sit there open if I had to. They have a camera on my house. I truly believe that when I go through my exercise. And I think I'm dealing with organized crime also. With somebody's, I go down the street and I can see the cars come. When I do my exercise, a little dude on a motorcycle came about the size of Dylan Roof and just came within a couple feet of me. I ain't had no weapon on me or nothing. I was thinking about doing something crazy, but I thought about my mother and said, it'll be easy for him to say self-defense. But that's the type of stuff I've been dealing with. Kind of choking up a little bit because I had anxiety. I had calmed down, which I do have an anxiety, blood pressure, high blood pressure, diabetes, thyroid problem. But I still can work. I still work. But I just lost my job because of them. I truly believe that. Truly believe that. That's the reason. I got terminated. They was trying to terminate. It was a couple of reasons that they said it was because I had maxed out with the money. That could have been the reason, but I knew they were going to fire me, and I thought they were going to keep me, but I burnt my hand right here. They just went ahead and fired me right after, a couple days after that. But, it didn't totally surprise me. But through the stress, it was, look, I was doing good, though. I was coming back, making my little money and doing good. And I was in real estate at one time. I'm just trying to think. How much time do I have? I'm okay?
You have 30 seconds remaining, sir.
Oh, 30 seconds? Yeah, but it's deeper than that. I came here, in 2014 also about these same complaints. Nothing happened. Wesley Newman, he did get up and speak. Someone said, I didn't get the tape. I can come back and get this tape right.
Mm-hmm.
So if I do have to come back, I won't be redundant. But still choking up a little bit because, I got thrown off. I'm trying to think. I wrote an article about the Confederate flag, and some wise guy at the state newspaper changed my heading. That was 2 months after I got fired from Mack Trucks. And a couple years later, I filed for bankruptcy. And I showed it to this little white guy. I was glad my little article out in the paper, and like I said, he changed my head, and he read it. He said, "No, you don't say that, because you don't say that." They said, "Forget ancestors." That was someone at the state newspaper said. And what I'm trying to do is maybe think that could be the reason why. And And it ain't just them, it's organized crime. It was mostly white guys at first that was just following me around town. I mean, you know, I wasn't scared because I ain't did nobody nothing. But it's scary the fact that I ain't scared, you know. You know, it's just scary that I can't be scared because I'm single anyway, so, you know, I can't.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Your time is up.
Mr. Washington, can you leave your contact information so we can look into this and then get back to you, but also be able to share the tape with you? Because that was your request.
Right.
Ms. Laura?
Can I just say one thing, Mr.
She has been waiting patiently all afternoon.
I'm going to be brief. This was all very interesting. But I'm an attorney. My name's Laura Valtorta, and I have an office on 903 Calhoun Street. And the reason I'm here is I want to point out that we've always had a big problem with the homeless population because we're close to Transitions, it's down the street. But recently, within about the past 4 months, it has become dangerous. There's been a lot of vandalism. For example, broken windows. Somebody set fire to my porch. The lady who delivers the mail was attacked. And they got that guy and put him in prison. We have frequent people getting threatened, you know, we're going to kill you, things like this. It's becoming really unbearable. And I've been speaking to the other businesses. We're mainly attorneys, small businesses. We're in frequent contact with the police. You know, they come there. I think that there needs to be more patrolling of that area at night in particular, because it's just people sleeping on the porches and the defecating in the yards, setting fire to people's property. I mean, it's just not good. The way I feel about it is I could move my law office out of town, but I'm a disability attorney and I like to serve the population that gets there on the bus. A lot of my clients are often homeless and I try to help them, but the safety concerns are people are carrying guns, baseball bats. It is not good. And I'm afraid, I've been there since 1997 and it's become much worse. I don't know if it's because of new services from Catholic Charities in the 800 block, but the traffic has gotten worse. And I just feel it's dangerous, and I would like to ask for some suggestions. If you have a homeless committee or something like that, I would be glad to help out. I would rather keep my business in the city.
We would rather you keep your business in the city.
I would.
Counselor, and first of all, thank you for your patience in waiting. It's never easy here. Secondly, we are trying to address a lot of these issues, and some of it is exactly what you're talking about. So many services, providing bits and pieces and things. We've opened the Rapid Shelter, and we've been able to take some of the unsheltered and get them into a process and wraparound service so that we can get them. We're going to continue that, but we will talk to our police chief, who just happens to be sitting in the front row there, about what we can do and look at the other night, but also look around the area. It has been a challenge, and I thank you for persevering through it, because some people haven't, and it's been tough. Right in the center of the two biggest shelters is right where your office lands, unfortunately. But we want to continue to do whatever we can to help you and keep you in town. Our ultimate goal really is to have an all-inclusive campus that we can have homeless in different situations and with all the wraparound services and everything they need in a one-stop shop where they really can get the help that they need. It gets them off the street. It puts back the quality of life. I wish we could do something like this and make it happen, because it is. We are a very compassionate city. And unfortunately, we're getting to the point, it's a tipping point for folks who really want to have the best for the homeless, but as you said, there's been an uptick in violence. We've seen it as well, and we're trying to do everything we can. I'll ask the chief that when we get done, maybe that he can connect you with one of the neighborhood officers, and we try to connect and see what we can do to give it, because you need to be able to feel safe at work.
You can't go in on the weekend or at night without being afraid. And I was alarmed when one of my neighbors said, "Oh, I have a gun and a baseball bat in the car." And I thought, this is not good. This is going to end in problems, more problems than we have now. I think that more services would be great, because there's a lot of drug and alcohol abuse, and then mixed in with people who are very peaceful and just don't have a place to live. So if people come to me for help, I have many homeless clients, but it's not good when they're trespassing all the time, and we're told things like, get a mean dog, or, call 911, and then what happens is okay. We don't think that it's okay. So,
Three hots and a cot is not the answer.
right. Anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here. I believe that is everybody who had signed up. We have cleared the room over the last 2.5 hours, for sure.
Staff. You ready?
Is there anyone else who wanted to speak? This is a public input
encourage
point.
them.
Just want to make sure I didn't forget anybody.
Mr. Mayor, I move we go into executive session for discussion of employment of an employee pursuant to SE Code 30-4-78-1, council support services, municipal court judges, receipt of legal advice relating to a pending, threatened, or potential claim pursuant to SE Code 30-4-78-2, Lizzie Sanders versus City of Columbia, Lake Catherine sewer improvements.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Yes, sir. Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell? Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mayor Rickaman?
Aye.
Thank you.